On to this regular meeting of the Rey Oaks City Council. It's great to see everybody. It's great to be back. And I want to personally thank John Lee for sitting in for me last meeting. I really appreciate it, John.
Thank you. You're welcome, and it's my honor. You're here right there.
Okay, with that, Karen, can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Ui,
Present.
Councilmember Halleck,
Present.
Councilmember Shirley. Here. Councilmember Rex Del Cronin,
Here.
Mayor Donaldson.
Here. If you'll please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is public comment. General public comment must deal with matters subject to the jurisdiction of the city and the council that are not on this agenda. Anyone wishing to address the city council on matters not appearing on the agenda may do so now. There'll be a time limit of no more than 3 minutes per speaker. Public comment open.
Gary Krieger, 3 Glendale. Good evening, Mayor, Council. I want to take this opportunity to express our sincere appreciation for the actions of Mayor Donaldson, Chief Berkman, and Director of Public Works, Ron Cruz. During the huge storm early this month, the telephone in front of our house began swaying significantly. I don't know if any of you saw the Marina one on TV. That was ours. It was doing the same clock, pendulum back and forth. An older neighbor noticed it and called the Rey Oaks police. They responded immediately, and in short order had both Ron and the Seaside Fire Department on the scene. Ron quickly evaluated the danger and advised us to evacuate the house. He then erected barriers and caution tape to isolate the street in front of our house. Chief Berkman's officers stayed well into evening to monitor the situation. Over the next several days, Chief Berkman continued to persistently interface with PG&E, expressing the pressing hazard presented by the unstable telephone pole. As a result, PG&E had a team replace the pole in just 3 days, despite all the competing demands created by the storm. Throughout this entire time, Mayor Donaldson kept us informed on the status of PG&E's efforts with regular phone calls and texts. This was a truly impressive team effort and reinforced how lucky we are to live in such a wonderful community. Katie and I want to extend our heartfelt thanks to Ron, Chief Berkman, Mayor Donaldson, and all the Rey Oaks staff on a much appreciated job well done. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carol Kaplan and I live on Alta Circle. I'm speaking this evening on behalf of Sustainable Rey Oaks. Late in 2022, the city began a surplus land act process, offering our 2 Fort Ord parcels and what is affectionately called the 17 acres property to affordable housing developers, parks/open space nonprofit agencies. Sustainable Rey Oaks was encouraged by City Manager Gerton's quotes in the June 1st, 2023 County Weekly article about interest in the properties by the Parks District and the Big Sur Land Trust, as well as ensuring that the community would have a say on what is done with those properties. We submitted a letter to the council on June 12th to show our support, particularly of working with the Parks District to expand their holdings within the city, but also to encourage the council to support regional parks, providing Rey Oaks with an expanded frog pond. In the County Weekly article, Mr. Gerton mentioned that the initial negotiations were going to be final later that month. Nothing has been publicly shared, and we have not noticed a closed session agenda item. We hope the city and the council are continuing to work on this important project. In addition to the possibilities of future generations having access to an expanded open space and/or parks setting. Funds received through the sale can address the city's debt, aiding resiliency and sustainability for our city. The mission of Sustainable Del Rey Oaks is to meet the challenges of declining resources and climate change by helping our community embrace sustainable practices. One of the ways we strive to do this is by collaborating with our city's elected officials on adoption of healthy opportunities for our community. And we really do want to collaborate with you. So if Sustainable Del Rey Oaks can be of any help with this process in the future, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, any other public comments? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Our next item on the agenda is a proclamation celebrating Black History Month. Since the beginning of the month, the city, along with the rest of the country, has been celebrating Black History Month. And it's an honor for me to present the following proclamation. Whereas the city of Del Rey Oaks is committed to diversity, equity, inclusion, and mutual respect as a fundamental aspect of a healthy, thriving community. And whereas in 1976, as part of the nation's bicentennial, Black History Month was formally adopted to honor and affirm the importance of African American history throughout our American experience and serves to promote cultural enrichment, ethnic pride, and self-esteem. And whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas Black History Month is a time for all Americans to remember the stories and teachings of those who helped build our nation, took a stance against prejudice to build the lives of dignity and opportunity, advance the cause of civil rights, and strengthen families and communities. And whereas the Black community has been the target of discrimination and violence based on identity, which conflicts with our core values as a community. And whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our nation's attention to the continued need to battle racism and look to the future to continue to improve society so we can live up to the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. Now therefore, I, Mayor Scott Donaldson, do hereby proclaim February 2024 as Black History Month, and I urge all citizens to celebrate our diverse heritage and culture and continue our efforts to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and prosperous for all. Signed, Scott Donaldson, Mayor. Okay, the next item is our consent agenda. Are there any items that the council would like to pull from the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, are there any items that the public would like to pull from the consent agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next item, old business, and we've got one item, which is a carryover from the item of January 3rd of this month at a city council meeting, and it's the appeal of the building officials finding for tenant improvement application for 121 Coyote Oaks. And I will give that to the city manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So we, since the last meeting, we received communication from the applicant and the applicant's attorney, Mr. Fennell, is here in the audience. Requesting continuance. They're currently working on something with water management district, and so staff will need some time to work with them. Hopefully find a resolution without having to come back. And so staff recommends that you approve the continuance to the next one.
Okay, thank you, city manager. All right, I'll start with council member Uwe. Do you have any comments, questions regarding this item?
None, Mr. Mayor.
Council member Howard?
Thank you, Mayor Donaldson. due to the fact that I had recused myself, from, discussions or actions on this item in the previous meeting, I will sit an abstention on this.
All right, Councilmember Sherman.
No questions.
No question, comments?
Nothing, no.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I would like to say is I'm glad that, the applicant is working with the Water Management District, and I hope that you're able to find a solution there.
Yes.
And, with that solution, this council, this city is more than happy, to look at that application, you know, for your plans to renovate that space.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a
Let's hope
difficult,
for the best.
it's a difficult problem and, we're working hard on it. My attorney's, in another country right
If
now.
you could hold on one second.
Yes.
So, with that, I'll take it out to public comment if you'd like to come up, and if you have any comments or questions, feel free to address the rest of the council and our citizens.
I wasn't planning to talk. I was just gonna say thank you. We're working on it. It's a difficult situation for everyone, but, we've been working on the building and, things are going actually pretty well. And, so hopefully we can figure out a way to not have to vote on this and figure out a workaround. So we're working hard on it and hopefully to see you, soon. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We're postponed.
All right. So what's, in a minute, we'll vote on it. Okay. I'll wait till it's. Yeah, I promise. Are there any other public comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council for a motion to continue or carry over this item.
Mayor, I'd like to approve the opponent's request to continue the hearing to the March 26, 2024 city council meeting.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
All right, second by Vice Mayor Hui. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Okay, the item will be carried over to the next meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to, the next, item is new business. The first one is approve the first reading of the ordinance regulation regarding smoking in multi-unit residences. And with that, I'll give that to the city manager.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So, everyone will remember that recently we passed a couple ordinances dealing with, smoking issues in the city. First one was for, retail tobacco license, to help our, partners at the county with some funding so that they can help with, better education on smoking related issues and smoking cessation plans. And primarily, I think for children, right, to not target smoking with children. And then also, no smoking in certain public spaces. We got a request from, county, from one association and from some residents from the Oaks, to consider the ordinance that's before you today, which is for, banning smoking in, multi-unit residences that came up as a discussion item at the last meeting. So that's the item that's before you today. So currently in California, there's 82 cities. I think that's the most recent number, right? 82 cities that have some type of regulation of smoking in multi-unit residences. Of those 82, I think 75 do a ban like this, of smoking in enclosed areas and multi-unit residences. In the public comment period that we heard from multiple sources about Pacific Grove's ordinance that tackles this issue as an example that we should be following. So that's what we've done here. We basically just follow what Pacific Grove is doing. The only difference is Pacific Grove and most others consider multi-units, anything 2 or above, based on the input that we received from the council prior, in ours it's 3 or above. I think everyone's pretty much aware of this, so I'll leave it with that. If you have any specific detailed questions, more helpful questions.
All right, thank you, John. So I'll start with Vice Mayor Hui. Any questions, comments?
None at this time, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Donaldson. Just to say, that, I find the amendments, in this ordinance, consistent, with direction from council based on, collective information base that we've received both from, our own, works, our own research. I was happy to work with, Councilmember Shirley on this, the initial ordinance. Yes, consistent with, our own research, public outreach, a lot of helpful contributions from, Monterey County and a representative from the Blue Zone Project who isn't here this evening, but, a nod to them as well for their contributions. And, again, this is a very positive response to direction from council and well-drafted documents. I think that it will be, very effective in, bolstering the, HOA of the Oaks, rules and regulations as are, and provide a level of enforcement and confidence in the residents there. And, just overall, the entire city, ensure, a healthier, safer, and equitable, smoke-free environment for us all. So,
All right, thank you. Councilman Shirley.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, I just have comments and great thanks to, City Manager Gergen for getting this together, and to Gonzalo for being such a champion for us from the county. I appreciate your support, Councilmember Halleck as well for helping me usher these through. I am just thrilled that we were able to do this. We received earlier today a letter from Blue Zone, Project 2 supporting this, as well as in December, we received a letter of support from Monterey County Collaborates as well. So there's a lot of, and of course, our Oaks folks have been here to support it as well. So thank you for your engagement. Thank you for your support. I just feel like this is, so important, especially for people who don't get to choose who lives next to them. And that can greatly affect their health and well-being. And I think I'm happy that the city is going to be able to look out for all of our residents, and look for a healthier future. So I'm very happy we're getting this today.
Councilman Reyes, from.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in with Kim. Great job on everyone that's worked on this project and a lot of information. I'm glad we're doing it. I'm an ex-smoker. I smoked for 25 years. And I promised myself when I quit, I wouldn't be a rabid non-smoker. And I've stayed true to that course. I'm glad we're doing this. This is important. I lived in a condo that I smoked in for 2 years. And when I moved out, I was pretty grossed out by what it looked like, in all honesty. So my only concern is that I hope the folks in the Oaks and others can work out the issues of smoking amongst themselves. I don't want to see our police force taxed where we run lean and mean, and if we constantly have to go over there to deal with complaints about smoking, I think it would kind of lose what we're trying to do with this. So I implore anybody that's gonna work with this ordinance, work it out as best you can. If you run into a log jam, obviously that's what we're here for. But I'm totally behind this, and I'm glad we're doing it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and I echo a lot of the same comments from my fellow council members. It's obviously a quality of life and health issue. And, it's a situation where when you're in such close proximity with one another, and just the overall density that you see in some of our multi-unit housing structures, no matter how cautious, conscientious a smoker can be, it still is almost impossible to stop it from impacting someone else's quality of life. I've had family members that have been impacted, who've lived in multi-residential units, have worked with the people who were smoking, who were very much trying to solve the problem, and even them switching from different rooms to rooms and going to their garage, it still impacted them. So I know this is real, and it does have a tremendous impact on the quality of life and health of all the members all the residents that are in those units. And the other thing I was gonna bring up, Councilmember Ragsdale Cronin mentioned it as well. I hope that the Oaks can work together in being able to police a policy like this without getting our law enforcement involved. But I have a good feeling that can happen. Okay, so with that, I would like to take it out to the public. Are there any public comments regarding this item?
I've had a vote from, thank you, and I hope you're feeling better. It's fantastic news for us. Over almost 3 years ago, we banned smoking in the public areas. And we're told we couldn't do it within the units. So this is nice news for us. To our knowledge, there's only 3 smokers. I spoke to one of them and he thinks it's great news. He said he should be stopping anyway, and this will make him. We're not sure on the 2 others, but 1 out of 3, we've done pretty well. And that we don't believe that anybody else smokes in the complex. So I think it would be relatively easy. And if it's done like the information we gave you with the 82 places that have done it, where they have X amount of months to stop or move or change, I think it would be an easy transition. And I think the 2 that are heavier smokers than the one that said good idea will thank us ultimately, maybe not today. But I feel that tomorrow they will. They'll have way more money.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you so much for moving forward with this. It is a major quality of life, but it's also something that we're very serious with fire protection because we're so closely together. We're surrounded by these beautiful trees. We want to preserve our home. And like we said earlier, we can't pick our neighbor most of the times. And whether we want to not smoke or smoke, we don't have a choice when we're non-smokers. And right now, just getting over bout of asthma, this makes me feeling more excited, and I'm looking forward. And that's something that we're going to work very closely is following how these other communities do enforcement and have working with timelines, we know the law would take a certain amount of time to get there. We're very good at notifying. So, we will work with you. If, we need input, we'll come to you and whatever you can share with us so we can do enforcement smoothly and not, be a chronic problem. We love our relationship with the police department and we want to continue that and also with the city council. So thank you so much for hearing us and accepting our information as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm sorry for now, Monterey County Health Department Tobacco Control Program. And what prompted me to come up is obviously congratulate you for the steps you took at the later part of the year for the tobacco retail license. The only thing smoke-free parts. And although this one is not done, we still need a second reading. And I'm not advocating here on behalf of the American Lung Association, but I follow their metrics and pretty sure that Del Rey Oaks will be the second city in Monterey County to receive A grade come 2025, because they do it on the calendar year. So that's a big step. You should be very proud of yourself as you move Del Rey Oaks into the future. Two comments I hope are quick. I've been doing this for a while, and one of the hardest things to deal with is when you have a pregnant mom with a little kid who's exposed to both marijuana and tobacco smoke. So this is serious, and this is a really good way to protect them. The other is, I want to make sure that you call the Monterey County Health Department before you call the police. So I'm going to give you my business card. Get that out there. We can go over educational information and talk it through before we do, because we know the police's time is very valuable and for things and we can do it. No, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other public comments? All right, I'll bring it back to the council and first the city manager.
Just one comment, Ms. Burns, I brought up a good point that I should have mentioned. So if this is adopted, it'll be enacted effective May 1st for any new units that are constructed, which we don't have any in the works, but so that'll be May 1st and then October 1st for any existing units to get time for education and get people used to the new laws.
Thank you. Okay, any additional discussion, questions amongst the council members? The last thing that I would like to say on this is I really appreciate the collaboration between Councilmember Halleck and Councilmember Shirley to bring this forward. It's an example of the council working very well together. And I appreciate everything you've done. And also to the city manager and the staff for pulling together this ordinance. I know it took a lot of work and I appreciate your diligence with it. So with that, I'll entertain a motion then to approve the first reading of the ordinance regarding smoking multi-unit residence.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Congratulations. All right, next item in new business is approve the mid-year FY 2023-24 budget recommendations. And with that, I'll hand it over to the city manager.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So I just have a few quick comments because then I'm going to turn it over to Beth Mariano, our consultant, who gives us credit for this wonderful report. But this is a simple thing, really, mid-year budget. We're just making modifications because when we develop the budget at the beginning of the year, we're doing it on assumptions. We're doing it based on assumptions, and then as we go through the year, we fine tune those assumptions as we see the revenue coming in and the expenditures going out. And so we just make little tweaks so that we can continue to pay our bills going through the rest of the year. In this one, the good news is that we're actually making adjustments to the budget based on realities of how we're operating. And at the end of the day, this is actually showing a bigger surplus than what we budgeted at the start of the year. So that means that we're actually spending less than we're bringing in for this fiscal year, which is awesome. Yeah, that's money that we can plan in on spending for the next year. And a lot of that credit goes to everyone else. It goes to Chris, really managing the police department budget, Ron, who likes to call himself the dollar store guy. He tracks his public works budget down to the penny. Karen tracking everything else. And then also, you guys probably don't realize this, but our consultants really care about this town. So like City Attorney Lorca, Denise Duffy, RGS, they're really concerned about our revenues too and our expenditures. And so they really keep a close tab on what they're charging us and the work that they're doing. And they don't just go spending willy-nilly, which is unusual for us. So thank you for that. So with that, Beth, turn it over to you.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and the council members. Elizabeth Mariano, like he said, I'm here. I just wanted to let you know that this report was already reviewed by the Budget and Finance Committee in detail. That was done. What I'm going to show is just the summary, and if you have any questions or if you included in your packet. So included in your packet is the detailed information for each line item. So the first table on the top is just the summary of what was increased. The estimated revenue was increased by $194,580 due to the interest earned from late. It's the interest is coming very well. Higher interest than before when it was originally budgeted. And we have a one-time reimbursement or a settlement that was deposited in the miscellaneous revenue. We recorded some grants received during the fiscal year, and those grants were closed. And that's what makes up the estimated revenue. And the appropriation is the supplemental increasing the budget from various departments and transferred to CIP $5,000. So we have a net increase of $172,948,000 in our supplement. It's not negative, so that is good. And the slide on the bottom is the detailed adjustments for each department. And that totals to $21,632. And if you wanted to see the detail on that, it's included in your packet. So this concludes my presentation. If you have any question in detail, I will be glad to answer them.
All right, thank you, Beth. I'll start with Vice Mayor Uli.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have any question. I'm just very happy because this budget really reflects our financial responsibility into our finances here in the city. And I really just would like to thank our staff and our committee members and also our contractors for really for helping us to be really to have this kind of budget that we can make it work, even though we have a very meager revenues in the city. So, but I'm just so super thankful, Mr. Mayor, to be a part of this for this council and also to be a part of the Rey Oaks family. So thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Howe.
Thank you, Mayor Donaldson. Just quickly to say, thank you very much. Excellent report. I mean, anytime we're in the black and solvent plus, that is an excellent report. I particularly would like to thank you for, the exercise frugality, scrutiny, and diligence with which you work concerning the city's finances as described, by the city manager. In closing, just thank you very much. Great presentation.
Councilmember Sherwood.
Thank you, Beth, for your work. I know City Manager is very happy to have you. I know I'm on the finance committee and I should have asked these questions at that time, but I just, this is the time to kind of move things around. And I know we didn't move anything out of, we had a couple categories. So the grant writing services, are we gonna use, we've got 30,000 designated for that. Do you anticipate using that in the next, through this fiscal year?
Not for grant writing. But a portion of that, no problem, if we go to cover some of the work that Sherman's doing for us on some of our kind
Okay.
which are grant related projects, but it's not for what we originally anticipated using that probably.
Got it.
We kind of overextended on projects this fiscal year and probably next fiscal year, so going out and looking for funding for additional projects is improvement.
Yeah, okay. And then the other category was strategic planning, which I know we've talked a lot about, we've been searching. Is there any way that we're gonna spend that 5,000 in this fiscal year for strategic planning?
I hope so. If not, we'll do strategic planning and we'll facilitate it together.
Yeah, well, and I would encourage that, I mean, in our budget, as we go into budget talks, it is gonna be an opportunity for us to talk about things. And so, yeah, maybe we don't need a facilitator, but like, if we can come in with that idea of things that we want in the budget for next year based off our values, I think, would be really important. So, and then one of the edits that was made was in PD, and it was under PD safety equipment lease, and that was put in the budget and was taken out. I was wondering, was that something that was gonna be ordered, and then like some safety equipment that was supposed to be leased?
That was the, Sandwich.
So records
It's
management.
record management.
Oh, okay.
We have one more, we have to go with that, but we will be budgeting that under, long-term debt.
Oh.
It's not an operation, so I created an area where we put our debt, so we know where they're at.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just like, well, I wanna make sure that you're getting what you need.
That's one of the key areas that's really been helping us with
Good.
cleaning up our budget and getting things budgeted in appropriate areas.
Yes.
Not just in catch-all areas. Yeah.
We're trying to improve it, that's what we.
Good, because I mean, that improves transparency, it helps us understand the budget, and so I can appreciate that. So thank you very much. And then last question is, I know we're not, we didn't see any adjustment around city hall facility repairs and upgrades, council chamber technology. Are we expected to spend that maybe this year?
Yeah, so Ron's working on that, and we've got some paint contractors come in. We're looking to remove the whiteboard there that doesn't get used anymore and install another monitor so that people on both sides of the room can see what we're all looking at. And so, yeah.
Okay, I'm very happy to hear that. That's all for me. Thank you.
Councilmember Wright.
I just want to take the opportunity to thank every single person that works with the budget, in the budget, on the budget. My fellow council folks that we do our due diligence and stuff, and it's always just wonderful to have almost a $200,000 surplus going in. halfway through the year, and usually we're looking at 20. Might be over, but no, to have this kind of surplus just shows everybody's doing a real good job. Mother Nature may have blessed us a bit with the storms. You know, we can thank her or whoever you want to thank for nature. But I think we're doing a really good job, and as Kim said, as we go forward in the talks, we can maybe start looking at what we want, where we want to go. Because I think that would be a great, we can all together and have a chat about it. So that's it. Thanks.
Right. Yeah, great comments from my fellow council members. I too would like to say thank you to Beth for your attention to detail and diligence that you brought to the budget. It's just incredible. Thank you for everything that you're doing, as well as the staff. I mean, we're in a great position for everyone to kind of get an understanding. I know the budget, your eyes kind of glaze over when you see all the numbers, but our revenues are holding steady. Our top 4 sources of revenue, which is property tax, sales tax, business license, and our short-term rentals are all holding steady. And as the city manager mentioned, and you heard a little bit about, our expenditures are either in check or going down. And there are a couple of things that were mentioned, the public works budget, you know, very much getting the most bang for the buck that we can out of that. But there's also one item that I wanted to mention to folks. We've had a couple of cannabis businesses that have gone delinquent on us, that owe us money. And this is the first time that we've had in a budget where we're able to claw back a little bit of money. It's not much, but at least we're going through that process of them paying us back a little bit of that money. And then one of the biggest expenditures that we've had in the past are our legal fees. And those have also been held in check. Sorry about that. We've been able to really dramatically lower the amount of legal fees that we've had to pay in the past. And city manager, I want to thank you for that. So those are just a few items that I just wanted to kind of throw on top of what you see in all those numbers as you look at them. So with that, I would like to send it out to the public. If you have any comments, this is your opportunity.
Yeah.
Your hands were still frequent. Just consider listening, this is all such great news, and this is something that's come up before, when, state manager Burton, and there's 3 times around, you can think about this, but, you know, vacancy tax, I mean, we've got, you know, I think Stone Creek Village, you know, kitchen's been going now for what, 3, 4 years, 5 years? And it's just sitting empty. I mean, I don't see sometimes will, you know, put measures on the books to, sort of incentivize people to keep people in there, and those people that are paying taxes and everything else. It's just, you know, be nice to keep the businesses full. And I don't know, just something, when we get time, maybe to think about it, because, you know, it's a great location. There's a couple other ones that be nice to keep them, full, and businesses in there that are helping bring stuff into the community and helping the community. So just nothing earthly, but something we can just keep on that line, and when we have time, maybe figure out someone else's ordinance that's already been done and bring it into ours. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren.
Good job, everybody. Appreciate it. This is unfamiliar territory. Let's get used to it.
What do you?
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Any other public comment? Okay.
Well done.
Okay, seeing, no other public comments, I'll bring it back to the council. Any final comments, questions? Okay, I'll accept a motion to approve the mid-year budget recommendations.
I move to approve our mid-year budget recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
Second, got a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next item is to receive information and provide direction regarding placing a measure on the November ballot for the city's transient occupancy tax. And with that, I'll send it over to the city.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So we have what's called TOT, transient occupancy tax, which is for our city, bigger cities like Monterey, it's primarily a hotel tax. For us, it's our short-term rental. And so we just, modified our ordinance to cap short-term rental, full home short-term rental to 25. That ordinance was adopted in 2018, and along with that, the residents, the voters passed the tax. Our tax rate is currently at 10%, and started off slow. We had most of 1 year with some short-term rentals, and then we went into the pandemic. So we never really saw what the short-term rental market was gonna look like for Del Rey Oaks. We're getting to that point now, and it's going gangbusters. And so that's great, because as the mayor mentioned, we only have a few steady revenue streams, and primarily property tax, sales tax, cannabis tax, and now short-term rentals. And so cannabis taxes have really dropped off the cliff from the boom years of the first few years of the dispensary and then our businesses out in the industrial area. And that's really declined. TOT is making up some of that difference. It's not filling the gap by any means, but it's softening the blow. And so, we talked with you all, with the finance committee about the idea of maybe it's time to revisit our TOT rate and think about increasing it. So that's what this discussion is. So TOT is a general tax. So if we go to the ballot, it requires a 50+1 vote in order to pass. When you pass it, if you want to increase it like this, you have to go back to the voters again. And then that money goes into the general fund. It is provided for general services. It's not a specific tax. It can be a specific tax, but most people don't because it's harder to pass. So for us right now, and in my staff report, which I need to modify if we go forward with this, actually, because we're looking at the numbers today, and I was being conservative, and so we'd like to recommend a 2% increase. A 2% increase based on last year's performance would be about a $30,000 a year increase to our tax revenues. But based on what we're estimating now for this year and what we've now budgeted for this year, we're actually getting closer to $40,000 a year in increased revenue if we were to go up 2%. So when you think about TOT, one of the questions that comes up is, will anybody oppose it? Does it impact our ability to rent places? For your average individual family member or person just coming to go on vacation, I don't know about you guys, but I never think about the taxes when I'm thinking about vacation. I think about the location and cost of the room. So typically, who considers TOT? If you're an event coordinator for a conference, and if you're putting on a conference and you're going to be booking an entire block of rooms for that conference, and you're not really locked into a location, but you're locked into a conference-like location, you might consider TOT. So you might weigh, do we want to have it in Palm Springs versus Las Vegas versus Monterey versus San Francisco? And you might look at TOT because a 1% or 2% tax difference could be a significant amount of savings on your overall budget for your conference. So those are the people who generally think about TOT. So conference cities think about TOT and weigh heavily whether or not they want to increase their TOT, but not really an issue for a city like ours. And then we look regionally, and in the staff report, I said in Monterey County, if you look at everybody's TOT, the average is about 11%, which is a point higher than ours. But if you just look at the peninsula, it's us and Carmel, who are at 10%, and all of the rest of the cities on the peninsula are at 12%, except Marina, which is at 14% now. So 12% gets us right back up into the median where everyone else is, and even Monterey, who are the conference center providers, and even at 12%, they're low for a conference city. So I think we haven't heard any comments back from anybody providing short-term rentals because this is a pass along to the customers. And like I said, most people booking a short-term rental don't look at the tax rate when they consider where they're going to book a short-term rental. And this would honestly help with some of the services that those people coming here are going to benefit from, like public safety and roads and things like that. So this would be a much needed boost to our revenue sources and help us provide better services to the community. And I think it's a good idea to at least consider. That's why we're having this discussion, in case anybody wanted to come and talk to us about it and actually present another viewpoint. This would be the best time to do that, but just wanted to get some input from you all. If you all wanted to go to 14%, I would be all for it. 12% probably makes sense. So anyway, with that, questions?
Okay, and like the city manager just mentioned, this is a discussion item to provide information and guidance back to the staff and for us as well to make a good decision on this. So I encourage those that are watching maybe online or are going to watch this video later to get in contact with us or the city manager and provide that information. So this is an opportunity to provide that free flow of information to get better guidance. I'll start with Vice Mayor Louie for any comments, questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just filled with optimism and determination because with this POT, we can really like make a positive impact in our community. And I'm just like thinking of our bigger revenues in our city and our residents are not the one really like being impacted in this POT. It's gonna be our visitors. Yeah, so that's why to me it does make sense, like that we have to really like increase our TOT, especially that Monterey has 12% TOT and we're just neighbors, we're just next door. And Marina even is charging 14%. Yeah, so and I guess the 12% is really like the right spot like to have for our TOT. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Howard. Thank you, Madam Olson. Thank you for the presentation, City Manager Burton. I agree with what we've heard so far from our council members, and I'm glad that you extended the option of an increase or a consideration above 12%. Because quite frankly, I think it should be more. I think that we have a beautiful community here to share with visitors. In looking at the list of 482 cities in the states, well, let me focus on just the peninsula here first. 14% in Marina, beautiful city of Marina. I think that our sundries, amenities, conveniences match or exceed what Marina offers, so that's one consideration. Further down the list, I don't have it with me, I think it was Anaheim, had it at 15%. Of course, they're right next to Disneyland, which actually is a relative comparison. We are so beautifully located here in the clean, quiet, safe community that provides accessibility via main roadways, very quickly to Highway 1 or 68, to a multitude of events, everything from Laguna Seca or WeatherTech, excuse me, to on the road into anything in the peninsula, the golf tournaments, car shows, whatnot. Amenities along Fremont Boulevard, restaurants and entertainment venues. I just think, perhaps I'm a bit biased because I have the privilege of living here, but I think that we have a lot to offer and that we should consider a bit more than just a 2%. Say an average rental is, and I'm familiar with some of them within the city, but during some of these events, $300 a night is not out of the question. At 2%, that would be a $6 increase per night, which is fairly insubstantial. I don't think that we would have much pushback from the income generating property owners, the STR owners on that. Even if so, that is approximately 25 currently, 24, I think one owns 2. But I think that many of the residents would be in favor of adding to the city's coffers through this tax. So I would encourage my fellow council members to maybe consider a bit more of an increase as discussions proceed. So that's my view on it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Schill.
Thank you. City Manager, have you talked to Marina? Do you know when they implemented their 14%?
It was, when it was 2021.
Okay, and do you know if they received any,
I'm sorry,
okay,
and Monterey increased their from 10% to 12.
and so did we get any pushback at the 14%? I mean, since that was
Right, yeah.
extending the range
So
there.
check the plane for that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm comfortable putting this on the ballot, absolutely. I think we could talk about 14%. I mean, 12% seems like right in the pocket, seems very reasonable. I'm very happy that we've capped our unhosted, STRs, since I know that, people have been talking about that, so it doesn't look like we're money grubbing, really. I mean, we know there's a finite, it's really unhosted, houses, so, and yeah, I mean, people are coming here to visit our beautiful city, and I don't think they're gonna be thinking too much about the taxes, and, we could use this extra money, it would be very beneficial, so. I am in support, I think, in terms of the 12 versus 14, I'd say I'm flexible on that. In looking at this, again, I think 14 is obviously on the higher end if we look at all of the different cities, but it wouldn't be the highest. So, yeah, I'm in there. I'm flexible. So, yeah. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Ragnarson.
Thank you. So Kim stole a little bit of my thunder, but one question I would have is, are any of the other cities going to provide any help? So, because we're basing stuff on 2021, 2019, 2018, we're in 2024. It might be the time to step it up, like as Councilmember Howard said, it might be time to step it out, maybe even step out in front, or at least get to the front of the line. Because everybody else might be coming along behind us, and then we're just running in second gear. So I am totally supportive of this. I think we've got the rules in place to keep the number of units in check, and the complaints, I haven't heard any major complaints about any of the units. So I'm down for 14% as well. I don't know. I'm a little leery stepping out there at 14, but if you find out some of the other cities are digging into it, and provide us that information, 15 might not be out of proportion. If the other cities are all kind of gonna step up, I mean, I work for a private school, and there's York, Catalina, and Stevenson, Palma, around here that are the majors, and they all take turns on tuition. So this might be a time for Rey Oaks to just step out front and go, hey, like Jeremy said, we've got this wonderful city, and we've got these wonderful amenities, and we got access to, big servers, and you know what we've got access to. It might be time to step up front. So I would not, if knowing that some of the other cities are increasing, well, I would not even go to it. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess the first thing I would say is I think we found a great balance on the short-term rentals, where a balance between the quality of life issues for our residents and also the amount of revenue that we can bring in. And based on what the city manager just talked about, I mean, $40,000 as an increase is pretty significant. I'll put that into context. That is about the amount that we charge for rent for our garden center and for our honey company that rent our buildings. So it's somewhat equivalent to that amount, that 12% or the 2% increase would bring in this particular case. The other thing that is important that the city manager brought up, considerations that a lot of other cities have that we don't. And that's the conference activity that goes on, and those bigger organizations considering whether to go to Monterey or someplace else based on transient occupancy tax and how it impacts the overall cost of whatever conference or whatever activity that they have, and we don't have that here. So that's also a big consideration where we can have a little bit more flexibility and not worry so much about it impacting the number of people that would potentially come and visit our city. As it was mentioned, all of our neighbors are at 12%. So Seaside, Monterey, Sand City, Civic Grove, they're all at 12. Marina up north, 14, Carmel down south at 10. So I really believe that 12% gets us where we need to go. But I think we could do more. I think one of the things that maybe the city manager can do is ask the other city managers that this is something that they've considered bringing up. I know that Seaside, for example, hasn't looked at their transient occupancy tax since 1991, I think. So it's been a long time. And, you know, they've got that hotel prospect as well as Monterey and so on that the city manager mentioned. So I can imagine that Seaside as a minimum would be kind of kicking it around to see if it's something that they potentially want to do. Because when you look at it, transient occupancy tax has become, it bounces between third and fourth highest source of revenue. So Councilmember Halleck mentioned some, $6 here and increase there. It is significant for the city when you look at our overall budget. So, this would create a lot of extra revenue, especially as it's compared to our other revenue sources that are out there. The one question I had was, how much does it cost to put this on the ballot?
Yeah, that we don't know yet. In April, I believe the election office will put out the copy.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is, if we're looking at doing 12, and then maybe in a couple of years, we're looking at adding another 2%, we're paying to get that on the ballot. So why not look to the future and say, hey, let's just, maybe tack on an additional amount at 14 and save that money that we would have paid to get it on the ballot in the first place. So that I think would be a consideration. And overall, an increase for the people who own the short-term rentals, they're gonna pass that along to the customer anyways. It's not gonna have such a big impact on them. So I don't believe that we will have pushback from our short-term rental owners out there. I think they're pretty happy that they're in this beautiful place that we call home, as you all mentioned. And I honestly think that they're gonna be okay with it. So those are my comments. I'd also like to hear from the public, if there are any comments on this item, please, this is your opportunity.
Everyone, and Marty. So the planning commission spent a lot of time looking at this particular issue last fall and really took into consideration the housing issues versus our revenue requirements, where we came to the recommendation of capping at the 25. I think the capping at the 25 has completely eliminated all our short-term renter owners competition. They will never have any more competition. Their revenues will only increase. So I don't think they're going to be too upset if we start raising their tax rates. I completely agree with our mayor that we shouldn't minimum go up and up and up. If we're gonna go up, let's go up to the heights. We're gonna do it once and not have to keep redoing it over and over again. My only other recommendation is when we do put this on the ballot, if we do, we be very careful about how we word it. Some of our voters may see only one word. Tax. And that we no. So we want to be sure that we educate the voters of what this tax really is and what it's going to do for both our short-term renter owners and for our residents when we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Just a couple observations, 2019, I believe you said, from Marina, and they were building plenty of hotels. It does not seem to have slowed anything down, right? Because go up to the Target shops that are there, and they're building hotels right now. So it's not slowing anything down, and, so I don't think 14% is any big issues. And as a pretty regular Airbnb user, I will tell you, the only thing you care about, two things: location, and you sound nice as the place. That's all you care about. You're not looking at, yeah, you don't care. You know, I mean, well, you look at the overall price, but you're not picking, part price. It's just, I like that location, I like that house, you're gonna go. And if it goes some other 3 or 4%, no one's even they're not even gonna notice, they're not even gonna care. And as Ann said, I think our short-term owners are gonna be pretty happy, because they're gonna pass along anyway, and I would agree with them in the comments up here. If you're gonna do it, just go big, just do it, and be done with it, and start collecting the money now, and not, go back and fight this fight again in a couple of years, just do it. I think it's fair, and I don't think anyone's really gonna be upset about it, and no one's gonna be hurt. People coming around the city in this great area is gonna pay a little more, they don't care, they're on vacation. Thanks.
Thank you, Gary.
My favorite Carlton Drive. Yeah, go for 14%. I mean, the other cities are probably gonna look at us and go, maybe we should be doing something. So anyway, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. We've all said it all. Good job. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. Do we charge a license for these 25? Yeah. And does the license go up every few years as well as the tax?
It's considered as part of our fee and licensing that we do periodically to review, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with what this lady said. I think if you talk to the other cities, I think they'll all be going up. I think it's the time because they've been observing for a while. And I agree with you. Go for broke, 15.
I just wanted to add, as someone who actually plans and negotiates conference style walks and rooms, the first thing that from the agency I work for is we negotiate those taxes to be written off. And so we look at those, the per diem is set for us, but when we look at the tax, that really says a lot for whether we can actually hold our conference there or book there. And so I think being in a small community, I know I had an emergency at the Oaks and I had really quickly, knowing that I was in a safe, clean home, was the most important thing, and the price, and still stayed in my own community is important. So we're, not only are we providing a home for people coming to visit, sometimes we have those people that have to relocate for flooding, fire damage, et cetera, toxic mold. So, I think it's a good time to, be prodigious with the increase, save the pain of another vote, and do whatever we can to make it more stable for the community as well.
All right, thank you. I think every member of the public has spoken, so I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back to the council if there are any other comments or questions that you may have. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, after hearing everyone, insights, I'm good, really like, putting it up to even 15%. So that if we can just do this once and not do multiple times in the future. So because I know, I got all of the insights of everyone that probably other cities in our neighborhood would be thinking of increasing as well their DOT, because it's been a while that they haven't touched that. So that's why it's just better like for us, like we're gonna lead on, lead with the DOT. If it's gonna be 15%, so be it, so, And I agree, we live in a very beautiful place, even in the Monterey Peninsula, we're the sun belt of the peninsula. So, I would rather stay here than in a foggy place. So weird, so that's why, yeah, so I would advocate for more percentage for our DOT.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. It looks like there's gonna be more time, so I'll go with Councilmember Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Donaldson. Yes, just to reiterate, and, I really think that we should just shoot for, 15%. An addition of 5%, and I'd like, the city manager to explore the feasibility of that based on this discussion. Neighboring municipalities, where they are, what their timeline is, we've discussed if there are potential, rate increases in other cities, them being a few years behind. And I'd just like to clarify earlier, I fell short when I used the word insubstantial on the increase, say $6 on a $300 rental. I should have been more specific in saying, I believe that's insubstantial in, for a homeowner, an STR owner, and or a potential renter of an STR to be swayed either way in coming to stay in our beautiful community. It certainly is a substantial, addition to city revenue, but, an increase of perhaps $30,000 a year, as reported here, to double that to 60, that just seems like twice as attractive.
Oh, this having charge.
Councilmember Sherman.
I'd like to give direction to city manager to talk to the other jurisdictions, see what they're planning. A 5% increase does seem really large, going from 10 to 15, but I do have a question in terms of the cost of the election. So we have to do this in a period of time where we have council people who are running, so we're already paying a cost for that. Is this like in addition to, this is gonna be like twice what we would normally pay then, essentially?
Yeah, so it's technically considered a special election, so we'll call a special election, but then it gets consolidated with the general election.
Okay,
So, like last year when we did the ballot initiative measure B,
yeah,
that's why we waited until March with the primary, it did that time. If we call our own and pull it separately from everyone else's, then the price goes up exponentially.
okay.
Kind of rare.
It was like 15,000.
Yeah, 15,000, I think, so for the consolidation, right?
Yeah.
Probably should be thinking about in those terms.
Okay.
As well, but.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I agree, I think, that's a big cost. So we wanna make sure that we, are, do move forward and not have to incur that cost, again down the road, so. But I think I would feel better if I know sort of what the other jurisdictions are thinking and doing, then we can fit right in there and push the envelope too, that's fine.
I haven't heard in our discussion of any city manager talking about the few jurisdictions that are having max on their sales tax or considering having sales tax increases. That's more the focus, and cities going in that direction, but certainly.
Yeah.
Councilmember Wright, said,
Thank you guys for pulling me out from under the bus at the 15%. From the tax and spend guy. Oh, no. Okay, so thanks on that. But no, I think the other thing I wanted to mention is I have a vacation home in the area that there's a lot of Airbnbs. And their TOT tax is fairly high. I would say probably 30 to 40% of the weeks are booked in a year or more in advance. The car week is always booked out by almost always by the same folks. AT&T this year was kind of a muffled little bang, but it was still there. So I don't think it's gonna impact the actual rentals. People renting our rooms, whether they're paying 12 or 15 rooms. I think 15 is a reasonable number. I think once we float it out there, if folks don't like it, I'm sure we'll hear about it fairly quickly. And then we can adjust from there. But I would certainly look at the 15% mark at this point. That's why yeah, step out in front, it doesn't hurt anybody. We might get a few brownie points with some other cities that maybe make the jump again the next time around. And, garner some good faith. Because we took the stand and stepped out, and I don't think it hurt the city. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think that's some great feedback and some great guidance to the city manager, great feedback from the public as well. There is certainly, as I'm hearing it from you all and from my fellow council members, an appetite for 14-15% for sure. So focus in on that, and hopefully that gives you the guidance you need to come back to us at a later date. Okay, all right, then with that, I'll close this discussion and I'll move on to item number 8, which is staff reports, and I'll turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you. So, in the city manager's report, and there's a written report in the packet for anybody who's interested. There's an update from Denise Duffy, our planning consultant, on our annual report to housing and community development at the state, on our progress on general plan implementation, and specifically our progress with our housing element. It's an annual report that we do every year. It's due by April 1st, or April 1st. So just a heads up, that'll be coming to the planning commission next month and then to the city council for approval. It's pretty standard, we do it every year. Because we're small, there's not a lot of changes year in, year out, but this year with the housing element, we have something to talk about. And then also, for those who aren't aware, the fifth cycle housing element was certified by the state. And thanks to Councilmember Bill, we have cupcakes, and thanks to Councilmember Bowie, we have sparkling cider after the meeting for anybody. Because Councilmember Shirley, I understand, kept Bill honest and made him bring the cupcakes. So it's actually a very significant thing. It's no small thing that we got that done, and thank you to everybody, to staff, to the council, especially the planning commission. That was a really heavy lift getting that done at the same time that we're working on the 6th cycle. And so you'll see in my report, we also got our second comment letter from HCD on the 6th cycle. We were anticipating probably a 15-page comment letter like everyone else was getting throughout the state. We got a 6.5-page letter. So we're dialing it down to actual specific technical input from the state at this point, and not out here anymore. We're getting it down. So I'm very confident we're going to get it done and certified within the 120-day time limit, which is probably ahead of anyone else in our region. So that's a huge turnaround. Thank you again to all of you who helped us get there. Yeah, guys.
All right, get it done in the time frame. I'll count again. We take your cupcakes.
How about next?
That's hard to do.
Okay, thank you, city manager. Council reports and correspondence are in the packet, and our next meeting date is March 26th at 6 o'clock. Thank you all for coming, and we stand adjourned.